Hi everybody, welcome to Shedunnit, Crime Writing with Helen Jacey. I'm Helen Jacey. This is all about writing crime and the theme of love. Love is a huge motivation for a lot of murders, crime passionnel. Why do people kill? So this episode I really want to talk about the theme of love in my novels, and I want to do it through the character, a main character, one of Elvira's best friends, called Alberta. Alberta is a black lesbian saxophonist who is in a biracial relationship with the owner of the hotel. Alberta and Dede cannot be out, so it is a secret relationship. Perhaps there were secret biracial lesbian relationships. We don't know. I like to think that there were. I felt it was really important for them to be secret, but they do have ways of being publicly out in their own communities in a kind of secret lesbian demi-monde. And to a few people, because obviously the price was very high to be out in those days. When you're writing crime and love is at the heart of it, what kinds of things are you saying about love? What do you feel about love as a writer? Are you jaded? Are you cynical? Do you believe in true love? Do you think there can be a happy ending? And why is love a motivating factor in some of the crimes that you are writing about? In Elvira Slate Investigations, it's a hugely motivating factor because they're quite relationship-orientated crimes. So I'm not giving any clues there, but it's usually, I've got certainly in Dead Language and other stories, love is at the heart of the novel, a lot of the cases. Somebody asked me quite recently, are there any happy relationships in your books? And I thought at the time, maybe there isn't anybody. And I couldn't answer, I was stunned, and I thought, wow, have I really written a book series where no one's happy? And then I thought, well, there are a few people who are happy in their marriages or in their relationships, but I just don't shine much of a light on them. But what was screamingly obvious to me is that Dede and Alberta, who are having their secret relationship, are actually very happy together. It's actually the world that is wrong for them. What makes a relationship a happy one? Does it matter that the world is disapproving? Can you live your life? Attraction and love and compatibility are things that you shouldn't actually define on paper, because it's about chemistry, it's about trust, that bond, that you want to be with that person no matter what, and they want to be with you no matter what. It's worth paying the price. So for Dede and Alberta, this is the main driving engine behind them, is that they actually do need to be with each other because they are right for each other on an emotional level. To some extent, their relationship is a kind of biracial flip of Cinderella, because there's Dede, Prince Charming, white, privileged, she's got it all. And you could say, oh, Alberta, she doesn't come from money, Dede's her Prince Charming, but not at all, because it's a world that Alberta doesn't even want. And she will never be able to access the wealth anyway. So to that extent, it's not Cinderella. It's a very complex flip of Cinderella, if you like. But there is a power imbalance, and there's an economic power imbalance. I think emotionally the power imbalance is the other way, actually. I think in the relationship, Alberta has more power, because if anyone wants to walk out, it's Alberta, because she can only have the relationship when she enters a white world. I talked to my editor Sheila about this a lot, representing segregated societies in the 40s, which are completely offensive to me, but equally I do want to have a diverse cast of characters in my books, so you have to tread very carefully. I'm happy to say that there will, in season 2, we'll be really delving into these issues a lot more deeply. But for Alberta, she is someone, she's from Louisiana, but she has probably another great love that is greater than her love of Dede, and that is her love of music. She is an absolutely skilled tenor saxophonist, and jazz and music is her deepest passion. Now, Dede doesn't have that. Dede doesn't have a driving passion. She has Alberta. Alberta, I think, probably at the end of the day, music is so key to her identity. It's something that she it's a world that she can enter, which is all hers, and no one can take that music away from her, and no one can take away her gifts. I'm not saying it was easy for her to be a saxophonist in the 40s, far from it, but she does gig with all-girl swing band. She plays when she can, and it's just something that is just really central, that art of creativity, that art of sound, that art of, music and composition. And the freedom of jazz actually is something that actually really makes Alberta feel whole, probably more than Dede. I think Dede is more problematic. She's drawn to her, she loves her, but I think Alberta knows on an emotional level she has the power. One of my readers wrote to me and said, I am really scared for Dede and Alberta because they really love the intensity of the relationship and they like the compatibility of these women, but they also know that they're born in the wrong time. That world is the big threat to their love, this hostile, polarising, discriminatory world. Can they survive? I just don't know. I'd like to think they would get to the 70s, they would get to, the late 60s with sexual liberation, with the gay rights movement. I'd like to think that, but I don't know. I'm thinking about it a lot at the moment, what will happen to Dede and Alberta, and what ultimately will Alberta want? Because in a way, she's a bit like Elvira in that she's a travelling woman. I think she's a little bit nomadic, and ultimately she will be touring a lot with the band in the future. And I think this means that she can sort of tolerate the life, the kind of false life. So I really like the idea that we can create a private world that isn't influenced by other people, that is actually between two people and no one can get to them. And I think that that's something that is really romantic. It's, it's from Romeo and Juliet. It's like, this is the bond, we belong. And so as a romantic, and 40s were full of romantic novels as well, it was like huge. I like this sense that actually we can find the one. Is it something to do with the state we're in? Because there is, always the concept that we attract into our lives the people who we need to learn from. So for a monogamous relationship to work, or even a non-monogamous, what kinds of things can you think about as a writer plotting compatibility? And when will your characters be ready to find someone? When you're writing about love in your novels, whether they're crime or your stories or whatever, I think you've really got to unpack, what does love mean to you? What does romance mean to you? Certainly in crime fiction, it's really easy to be very dark about love, very kind of negative and very cynical. People are killing for jealousy, they're killing because that person's betrayed them. And so it can kind of, diminish the fact that actually you can have healthy relationships in a crime story. And for me, Alberta and Dede, in their private metaverse, their private Dede and Alberta dimension, they have that. As so much golden age fiction and fiction published before, gay rights, always had the tragic stereotype of gay lovers. They were always literally killed or murdered or tragic or somehow pathologized in the story. So it was really important for me to flip that, to create a more progressive world for today's reader, really. So my stories are full of illicit affairs, secret love, betrayal, trauma, but fundamentally they're about self-love, because all my characters are on journeys to actually accepting themselves and feeling better about themselves. And, if you do that, then you're probably you've got a better chance of treating someone well yourself. Pigeons and swans are the most monogamous animals. Well, birds actually, they mate for life. So I think, notions of monogamy, they're quite fun to think about. Do you actually even believe in it? And what characters are going to achieve it? And is their love going to last? And if not, why not? They're things that you want to ask yourself.